Hello everybody and welcome back to the Busy Brain Podcast. I'm your host Slam, and today we are going to be talking about navigating relationships with our significant other, what that means to me and how I've personally experienced it, gone about it, and definitely am going to try and give as many perspectives as I can in this situation, because I know that this isn't an easy topic, one, to begin with, two, hard to even come to terms with, in my opinion. Like, it's taken me a long time and a lot of lessons learned to really be able to kind of self-reflect and notice like my wrongdoings, my right doings that I felt were wrong. Don't mind the noise. My dog is literally laying right under the camera. I really want to talk about just these rage periods of time that you can get into, these like extreme happiness moments, but like at the end of the day, it doesn't necessarily mean that the relationship is toxic, even though it could be experiencing signs of toxicity just throughout like patches of struggle. So you really have to know either like your condition, like how you don't, okay, I'm gonna reword that. You don't necessarily need to know your condition, but you need to know how you as a person work and like your pros and your cons, I guess. So all of these things that you're good at, I guess, and all the things that you're not so good at. So whether it be you're really good at communicating or you're not good at communicating. So it depends, as long as you're not stubborn or naive in that aspect, and really just kind of go into this episode with an open mind and like really understand that everyone can make mistakes, and that doesn't necessarily mean that somebody is a terrible person. But like, you can forgive and not forget, and you can also give no shits but take no shits, if that makes any sense. So let's dive into this episode, and I want to start off by talking about this like feeling of abandonment, and whether it be on the party of the individual who struggles with mental illness, or whether it be on the party of the individual who doesn't. There's two different perspectives that we can take on this, and I'm going to try and give you both, even though it is definitely coming from this perspective from me of struggling with mental illness and seeing how my partners have reacted, and like how even like my current partner reacts, and the things that I would take out of relationships that I think work, or things that I didn't think worked with my mental health that could very well work with other people. So to dive into like my past fear of abandonment with people, it was really stemmed especially in like the beginning of high school, like very much like high school related for me. And I'm not saying that this can't be like, you can't be experiencing this at a different age. Like, I personally feel as though I matured really young. So it takes a lot of like, again, self-reflection to like really like look at these things and like come to terms with them. It's so hard, especially in high school or middle school or even elementary school, to feel included or feel like you belong or that you're a part of something, and feeling that you're a part of a friend group, or feeling that you're a part of a class or a school community, or any community for that example. Like, for that as an example, a hockey team, any sports team, feeling like you're connected within other people is definitely something that like I think was beneficial for me, is like to have a sports team that like had to be there, like, and it was like a given, and I had full control over that. So I think that was very much like the only part of stability like I had throughout high school, because I didn't know what I was dealing with, one, two, what these feelings meant, what I like these harmful actions meant, and what these harmful things I'd be saying to people, or the way that I would react in situations. And my first instinct was always react, and I never thought beforehand either. And so I would say whatever I was thinking, and because I'm a borderline patient, or because I also not even because I'm a borderline patient, because I have a hard time regulating my emotions, my thoughts are really bad right away, right? So I say these I just say these awful things in heats of moments, in these rage moments in my relationships, where I wouldn't even remember. Sometimes I'd remember, sometimes I wouldn't, and it would depend on how much I'd have to snap. I had this like massive feeling that I needed full control, And in feeling like I had full control, you want to be able to like navigate everything that this person is doing. You want to be able to understand everything that they were doing in their day-to-day life and why. And it would be like heartbreaking in a sense if you couldn't see them, or if you couldn't go and hang out with them for that hour after school. Like, I would literally be devastated, like throwing myself on the ground. And it just be because I feel like my partner's gonna leave me because I can't go over, or I can't spend that time with them because my parents said no. Because bear in mind, I was young, like I'm 16 at this point in time. So you have this hit or miss like component to whether your parents, like your family, like how your family aspect is. This is again like always just from like my perspective, my point of view, and how I've kind of rolled with the punches. But navigating this rage, I found, was always triggered for me because I felt like this person was leaving. And when I felt like this person was leaving, I would jump to these crazy ends, right? Like, I would go and I would break up with them, or I would try to, or I'd be like, you don't love me. Why don't you love me? And they're like, I don't know, like I just went to hang out with my friends, but there's this girl that likes you there. Like, if you loved me, you wouldn't be there because this girl likes you. When in reality, it has nothing to do with that. That's your own insecurity that you have to manage on your own time, and putting that on your partner is incredibly selfish. And I know that now, and I've like been able to like kind of go back on that and really like dig deep. But that insecurity that's breeded within a relationship is also breeded because of how you felt about yourself beforehand getting into that relationship. Or like something like you're constantly attracted to toxicity because that's something you grew up around, and it's the only thing you know. And I didn't know, it's not that I didn't know any better, because I did know better, but I also didn't know any better because I didn't know how to regulate my own emotions. And I also didn't know that I was any different than anybody else. Or I did know, but I didn't ever want to come to that conclusion and actually come out and be like, okay, maybe I am different. And I'd be like, every girlfriend's like this. Like, no, they're not. No, they're not. And if I'm feeling some sort of way that I can't explain to you, I can still explain to you that I can't explain it to you. So communication is so, so, so important in any given conversation, whether it be a blackout rage, whether it be you're trying to break up with this person, because your partner should know you well enough in those moments in time to be able to like look at that situation and go like, did I really do something like to this extent? And understand like how much this could very well be just like a spree of the moment thing for that individual, whether they can't regulate their emotions, they're having an extreme panic attack, they're having all these things. Like, there could be so many different things in play in those moments that I have so much sympathy for the other party, because I know how I feel in that moment in time, and that's horrible. I feel awful. Like, we don't want to do this. Like, we don't want to pretend to break up with you. We honestly just want reassurance, but we're too stubborn to ask for it. Or we want you to beg for us because we need that validation so bad. And the only person we feel as though we could get it from in that moment in time and like that quick would be that drastic of a situation change. And it's honestly, it's hard. Like, I've seen others and been in relationships where my partner was broken up with so much because of this abandonment issue that they were so petrified of it every single time like any sort of conflicts would arise, they would run. And it could be anything from something so small to something massive where they did something terrible, and they couldn't ever face that truth or that conflict because of that trauma they haven't gotten over. And you put that onto yourself, or you put that onto other people. And being self-aware in those moments in time is crucial, because to understand that everybody's different and everybody's in a different relationship and with a different person is very important. And I can't necessarily say like I've been in any like toxic relationships. I've been in very like drama infested relationships. I've been in relationships where it was manipulation like towards the end, like, but I also know how much I'm worth. at the end of the day, and how much that I feel I deserve and like what I want in life. And the thing is I know what I want in 5 years from now more than I know what I want next week, which is my problem. So it can be very different from other people, but when I can see myself with somebody long term, that's okay. Like, that's fine, because I can typically see long term of everything. But if I can see somebody short term and still constantly have that like pit of excitement every single time, that's when I know that this person's actually adding something to my life rather than just settling into my life, because that's just not fair to me in the path that I'm going on and how much I want to grow in my 20s. So when I gravitated towards my current boyfriend, it was very much like we had the same goals, the same drive, the same ambitions. Like, we both wanted so much for our lives and wanted to work so hard that it was so easy to both put our heads down and go long distance at the very start of our relationship, because we were both just so driven to be better and just to do these things and put our work together, because two is better than one, in our opinion. But it also is very, very difficult to settle into a relationship that in some ways is boring. And when I say boring, it doesn't mean that I don't have fun hanging out with that person, or I don't have fun going on dates and we don't do all these exciting things, because actually, I've never done this much with one of my partners before, ever. And we go on dates all the time, and the dates aren't dinner dates every time. We do these random things, and it's so fun. And like, we could go to the cottage, or at least his cottage has like no service or anything, and it's on an island. It's amazing. It's like actually incredible. And we don't touch our phones, like there's no service, nothing, and we will just keep ourselves occupied, and it's just so fun because we enjoy each other's company. And that, again, is like how I would know that like I'm genuinely benefiting from something, because in that moment in time, I'm in that present moment. Being in that present moment is genuinely crucial, because being in the present moment of any given situation, any given task, any given day is so important, because there's not much sense of time. If you really think about it into that perspective, you're constantly thinking about the future and you're constantly thinking about the past, when in reality, the time that you're always in is the present. So you're never really thinking about the present. If you constantly are concerned about the present moment more than you are about others, then things kind of lay a lot more low in stress levels, in my opinion. Like, everything kind of feels doable and everything feels work throughable, because you have the time, and it's just this time, and it's that moment, and you take it as it goes. And when you're in a relationship that is consumed by drama or stress, and for me it was unfortunately bullying, and I was bullied in almost every relationship I've been in, and whether it be in person, whether it be via social media, it takes a toll on you, and it takes a toll on your confidence for sure. And it takes a lot of reflection into not, one, believing what these people are saying about you, two, there's so much to think about in the situation, because this isn't just about you, this is also about your partner. So you're looking at something that you feel like you know perfectly and that you have all this control of, especially for someone who gets anxious with this lack of control. It is very hard to navigate anything in those moments in time, especially through bullying. And so when you're getting bullied, and it was always my partner's friends, it was always like something to do with like my partner's friends, exes, like all these things, like it always had something to do with their life and nothing to do with mine, which is where I've realized in time that it wasn't me, and that it was never me, and that it was them. And whether it be them like as a character or like who they were associated with, like it doesn't matter, because in that given point in time, that wasn't beneficial for me. Did I learn a bunch of lessons? Yes, I did. Am I going to take any of it back? No, because I learned, one, more about myself, two, what I think I deserve and what I want in a relationship, and three, you learn so much about like why people kind of do things the way they do them. I'll give you this kind of like perspective of a situation that I was in when my partner's ex-girlfriend was very, very like persistent with comments regarding not only like my character but my actual like appearance. These things saying like he'll never stop loving her, like all of these things. And these were like actual like comments on my posts. Like these were burner comments on all of my posts. And it was like, imagine waking up to that in the morning and you're just like, what the hell? Like, what is this? Like, it's not a fun feeling, I'll tell you that much. And on top of that, not knowing like every time you open your phone if there's another post about you on social media, or there's another thing digging at you, or digging at you in your relationship, or digging at your partner, and all these things. And it was such a toxic, constant cycle that you fall into this realm of this loss of control. And I leaned so much on the belief of my partner, and I cared so much about like how this made me feel. Like this was awful to me, and like I didn't understand what I had done. Like I didn't know this girl. You think about like all these reasons on why it could be you and why you're targeted, and when in reality 90% of the time it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with them. And so that takes a lot of time and effort to really like look into. But once you got this fear of like these constant like posts, these constant things being said, these constant messages, the comments, the share, like it was wild. And to a point that like there was nothing like I could even do anymore. Like everyone knew it was insane and what she was doing was absolutely messed up. Like I personally didn't know this girl. I had met her twice through like hockey teams where we weren't even on the same hockey team, and she was older than me. Like it just like didn't make any sense as to why this girl like could be targeting me, when in reality like I'm a very friendly person. I talk to a lot of people. Like we've had conversations in the past like I do with a lot of people, but like it had this like persona as though like her and I were like best friends, and I took like her boyfriend from under her. And so that made, because for one, I would never do that, and two, that made me feel like my partner's gonna do this to me. And at the end of the day, that insecurity becomes so like, I don't know how to say the word, but like you become paranoid, and it's a constant. So I worried about that for 2 years. And it was this constant overwhelming thing where then my partner actually took advantage of that and said, you know what, like this clearly agitates her and upsets her, but she loves me, so I'm gonna make it so that like I'm helping her through this. So every time anything was posted, like it was like comforted, and like you were, it was all glamorized in the sense of like I've got you, like, and I'll take care of you through this struggle and blah 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 blah. When in reality, your partner and their life is the reason to the struggle in the first place. There's something called cause and effect. So in those moments, it's very, 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 very hard and almost impossible to realize, like when you're in a basement, you haven't left in 2 days and are not seeing family, are not seeing friends, maybe I'm seeing one friend. In that moment in time, you're not looking at your partner as the villain. You're looking at everyone around you as the villain. And you also look at yourself as the villain. You don't look at them as the villain. And that's why I always say to people, breakups are such a blessing in disguise, because you see so much after the fact, and like people that you idolize, or for me as a borderline patient, I idolize people to this like extreme standard, which I've really tried to stop doing because it's not beneficial for my own mental health and well-being. But to understand that in those dark moments, you're not gonna realize that you can get out of that. And you can't realize that you have to communicate these things. And like through all of this, like if you can take anything from this episode, it's very much like how much communication matters, and how much to really look at every position that you're putting yourself in. And whether if your life is boring or your relationship is boring, let's take a look at why you would think so, and like really look at like the whole perspective of it all. Because in reality, for me, my relationship was just healthy. And like my therapist said that to me. She was like, or maybe it's healthy. And so there's ways you can like look at these things, and the way that like your partner consoles you in these moments in time, and the way that like I'll put this for an example on like little things like my partner does to like help me out when like, because I have like my own things, because everyone's different. It's at mental illness, mental health, it's very individual based. So like my own individual things is like I panic waking up. I've gotten a lot better with it because I wake up really early. So I have like time to like, I wake up, I have my coffee, I go to the gym before work, then I'm at work for 8. Like I have this whole morning routine set up. But again, like I wouldn't have had that morning routine set up if, like, here's like my whole like full circle thing. I just realized this right now actually. So if you think of it, I didn't start waking up at 5 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning until after my breakup, because I was in such a pit of despair. Like all I looked forward to in my days were going to the gym. Like that's all I had. And like whether that be something for you, that be something for someone else. I've grown up playing sports my whole life. Like working out and like physical movement, especially for ADHD, is like really beneficial for me. So waking up and kind of like getting that voice out of my head that I was lazy from my past and like this like trauma response of it all, like I got up and it became a habit, and I made it a habit, and I did a routine every single morning. And at the beginning of it, I had my friend actually, Paige, I love you, but she stayed over and would make sure like I'd get up and do all these things, and would stay over and console me while I was crying, or she would just take me on a drive. Like she was amazing through my breakup, and I had so many people there throughout my breakup, and it was just insanely supportive. And like my coworkers were incredible, and it was just a very good summer. And so in the summer that I was finding myself and really looking at myself, I hardly went out, I stopped drinking, all of these things. I started drinking again after that, but I've stopped drinking again now. Drinking, and I have a fun history. I'll talk about that another time. But it's very difficult to like really look into, again, like things, everything happens for a reason. So in finding myself, I really wasn't looking for anybody at all. And when I did look for somebody, it was very toxic, exactly what I like had just had, like back and forth, like already right off the nose. Like it just like didn't make any sense, and it's just like something I did not need nor want in my life. But because I felt so unlovable, I wanted someone to love me so bad, so I was like gravitating towards the first attention I could get that would make anybody annoyed or anybody like look at me, because I wanted to feel seen or heard, because I didn't for so long. And then I realized after that, I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? What am I doing? Like, this is not what you want. Like, when you settle down, it's gonna be someone that you would like to spend as long as you possibly can within the rest of your life with this person. Like, this is like, stop, let them come to you. And so my relationship, I'll tell that story another time with Bruce, but it was very much like right place, right time. And we hit it off amazing right off the nose, and we just both knew. Like it was very quick, and we both knew, and it was very rushed. I will say that. It was very rushed, and sometimes situations like that can be not good, but for our sake, it really, really worked out. And we both had so much time like alone throughout the year to like still be so independent, but like be together. And it was so just, it was warming, and it was very awesome to like really see that. But then come to this summer now, he's in off season, he plays hockey, so he's been training like a dog, and I go to the gym before work. So I get up at 5:30, and he doesn't have to whatsoever, like not even a little bit. Like he has a workout at 11 and needs to get up for like 9. And he actually, like, he gets up at 5:30, he helps me get up, he will get me out of bed, and then I go downstairs, I do our little morning routine, bring him a coffee, and then he comes to the gym with me before his workout just to like do mobility, do some like certain exercises like he wants to do, and to show me stuff, which like, again, like if they want to, they will. So it's really just something that I will say that like these things will come to you, and they do come to you, and like you don't need to settle in a basement for 3 days. Like you're better than that. We all are better than that. We can't do this. And whether you need to fucking rot, you rot, and you do that. And whether you need company or not, things get better and to feel them in that moment in time. My dog is freaking out. But I just want everyone to know how important it is to, one, communicate your thoughts to your partner. Communicate it. Say, I've got 10% today. That means your partner needs to take 90%, and he or she's got to be there for you 90% of that day. You can be there for them 10% because you're really struggling. Or then the next day, it's like, okay, I have 70 or 30. Like, you go back and forth. I'll elaborate that on another time because that plays into the friendships too. But communication is key. Everything happens for a reason, and to look at like dark moments, breakups, all these things as a positive, whether you like it or not. And 3, schedule is so important, especially when dealing with like any sort of like hard time, difficulty, struggle, depression, all of these things. Like, if you put yourself into routine, it's less decision making. It is so much easier for your brain to do these tasks, whether you're medicated or not. And on top of that, like, let them come to you. You don't need to search. The only thing you need to do is know who you are. And if somebody's entering your life, make sure they're adding something to it, not taking away. And don't insert yourself into drama. And if your relationship seems super busy and super hectic and super like chaotic, it might not be healthy. And it might be just exciting, because everyone is excited by drama, whether you like it or not. It could be good drama or bad drama, but you don't need it. And you can watch from the sidelines. So again, I hope I didn't go off track like crazy, which I normally do. But that is this week's episode, navigating relationships. And if there's anything you guys would like to see, you can let me know in the Dropbox. You can let me know in the comments. You can message me, all these things. Everything will be in the link tree. But yeah, I hope you guys have a great week, and I will see you from 2 Wednesdays from now. Bye.